Hi everyone, back to the more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. Sorry it's taken a while, this one. The day job has been a bit hectic, so I have struggled to find some time. But, of course, I'm here to talk about Paul Mitchell's interview and speaking about many things and what I think about it. This is a weird one, really. So this will be taken probably 2 or 3 different ways by the fan base. You'll have half the fan base that think it's brilliant that he's come out and he's speaking about things and he's fronting up and he's, taking some responsibility for such a poor transfer window and giving us some explanations as to why things have gone wrong. You get the other part of the fan base that thinks it's a little bit ropey and, he kind of feel like he's blaming people and maybe throwing Eddie under the bus. I've seen a few tweets about that as well. And then there's the other part of us that just wonder whether he's kind of been put up in front of the firing squad in front of Darren Eales, who is been really the kind of poster child of frustration about this transfer window. So I kind of sit in the last two, really, to be honest with you. So it is nice that Mitchell's come out and spoken about things, and some of the stuff he said is really good, about how Newcastle will be held to ransom, by transfers. But again, it begs the question is why the fuck did we wait so long with the Gahey deal? Why didn't we walk away? Why didn't we have alternative options to choose from? He made a point of saying how Eddie wanted that player and that was the player that they went for. So that was a little bit, I'm not sure how to take that one, whether that's passing the buck on Eddie Howe or whatever. He spent a large part of the interview in various different media outlets that you've consumed it in, praising Eddie Howe, but he did also say that, you wouldn't stand Eddie Howe's way, I think, if England came calling. So it was all just a little bit of a spin job for me, to be honest with you, and it reeks of this new kind of political pivot that Newcastle United finds itself in. So we've gone from Amanda Staveley and Mehrdad, who spoke with passion from the heart, and you could generally get the feeling that they love this club, and making this club a success was what they wanted to do, and there was real emotion behind it. Where when you see Eales speaking and you hear Mitchell speaking, it's all a business orientated conversation. It's the kind of thing you wouldn't expect not to see on Dragon's Den and stuff like that. That's kind of how it all sounds. And he's got all the buzzwords and everything else. He quotes the kind of the Brighton model, and I think that's a great thing to aspire to, because Brighton have done a really good job there. But there's a novel thought: why don't you go and sign their fucking scouting network then, if that's what you want to do? I've said that numerous times. But he talked about walking into a bit of a shit show, really, one of a better word. It was a posh way of saying that, which again, you could point the finger blame that maybe Dan Ashworth about, in terms of the how the back of house was organised, certainly in the last transfer window. But it doesn't change the fact that Newcastle United haven't signed a first-team player in the last 2 transfer windows. He reiterated the ambition of the club, same as Jamie Rubin has. He talked about, the main man, Yasser, saying that we do want to be number one, but we want to make sure we're best in class in all areas and every single other area and stuff like that as well. And I'm just not sure how to take it, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how to take it. I'm not sure whether they believe it as much as people will just grab that bottle of Kool-Aid and swig it down. I'm a bit more cynical than that, to be honest with you. Talk is cheap, actions speak louder than words, in my opinion. You can come out and spin and pivot and and dodge bullets like Keanu Reeves in the Matrix as much as you want with your articulation and your business rhetoric, but sign some fucking players, mate, because at the end of the day, the manager wanted a right-sided centre-back, you didn't get him. The manager wanted a right-winger, you didn't get him. People are saying to me, oh, how do you know the manager's unsettled? Does he look fucking happy? Doesn't look happy to me. He may be putting on a brave face for the media, but I think Eddie Howe is not happy with this new setup. He doesn't like how he's not involved in the transfers, and it's okay to not be involved in the transfers as the manager if those involved do what you ask them to do, and that's sign the players that you want to sign, and they didn't do that. So no question, Eddie Howe is probably wondering what the fuck is going on behind the scenes, and Mitchell has just walked in the door, so I will give him the benefit of the doubt. He comes with great pedigree. He's been at big clubs before, Monaco, Leipzig, Spurs, and he's done a good job, and he's brought in some really good players, likes of, Son and Trippier, to name but 2. At Spurs during his time there. So he does know how to do things right, and he does know how to do the job right. And maybe in the next 2-3 windows that go by, we'll see Newcastle getting good value for money and not getting the arse ripped out of them with this Newcastle tax that people like Steve Parish are putting on players. And quite rightly so, tell Steve Parish to fuck off. But you should have told him to fuck off weeks before you told him to fuck off. Then we might have signed another player. So that's my question. Who's to blame for that? They haven't answered that question. Mitchell hasn't. Eales sure as shit hasn't. He's disappeared up his own arse, a way to, let the dust settle. Then he'll be back on the stage at the Stack, dancing and singing Sweet Caroline, probably. So he seems to want to be that face of the board, that I love the fans and the fans love me type thing. Again, talk is cheap, Darren. Actions, mate. That's what we want. But going back to players, so, people are already starting to focus on the ultra optimism of we'll bring in players in January. We said that last January, we didn't bring in any players. We said that the summer, we didn't bring in any players. So how confident are you really, I'm asking you in the comments below, how confident are you that they are going to sign players in the January transfer window and in the summer to come? You know, Mitchell seems to say that's what he's going to do. He's even put his kind of colours, you know, nailed his colours to the mast and basically said we will bring in quality players, but I just don't know whether they will, you know, because the last two windows, if that's anything to go by, are not a great sign of ambition of the football club, not signing the players. There was good players to be had this window too, likes of Chiesa for under 11 million quid. Yes, I know you'll start shouting about injury problems, but 26-year-old proven player, good enough for Liverpool, but not good enough for us. Raheem Sterling on loan. Chelsea are playing 75% of his wages, good enough for Arsenal, but not good enough for us. I don't know why the club hasn't moved for two players like that who would have enhanced the first team, you know, and at very low outlay. We spent more money on Usala, who's a development player, one for the future, as Mitchell's quoted in his piece, who, you know, hasn't got a goal in 21 games, you know, and we turn our noses up at Chiesa. I just don't buy into that. I really don't, you know. I want action. I want players signed. You can call me entitled in the comments as much as you want. I'm not entitled. This squad needs to develop and grow. Sandro Tonali was the last proper first-team player that this squad bought, if you don't count Harvey Barnes. And that was another weird thing Mitchell said, that we won't be paying over the odds for players again like we had before. I wonder who he was talking about. People have already started to speculate. Was it Barnes? 38 million quid for a bench warmer? You know, potentially that is over the odds. You know, you're looking at the other players that were signed. It sure as shit wasn't Botman or Bruno at 30-odd million quid a piece. But we scouted those players when the takeover happened. We were able to get those players. That's the level we need to get back to again. We need to scout, you know, far and wide, you know, and make sure we get those good players in at those good prices, because, you know, paying 70 million quid for a Crystal Palace centre-half is not good business by the club. I agree with Mitchell on that, but you have to have a plan B, C and D in transfer windows so you don't get caught short. We are caught short now. Botman will be back, you know, hopefully, October, November time. Lascelles after that, but we're incredibly short at centre-half. We're incredibly short at the right wing. To go into a season again with Murphy and Almiron as the two right wingers, you know, it's a hell of an ask, you know, to get the quality from those two that's required to get in the top four. I still think the club have failed in this transfer window. And for me personally, Mitchell's words don't really, you know, blow the dust away from that. I'm still disappointed. The questions about Eddie going to England again, I understand I'm trying to be political with it, but that doesn't fill me full of confidence either. It just seems a weird interview for me. It's a bit of a blame game. It's saying something without saying anything really, and I don't really buy it. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. We always like to hear from you. Smash a comment in, like the video, subscribe if this is the kind of stuff you like, guys. We'll be back with some more content while the season is paused for this international break. Hopefully Tino makes an England debut soon at the weekend. That'll be brilliant if he does, and we'll be all over that as well. We'll be back with what's going on Monday. Keep it easy, guys. Until then, we'll see you later. Cheers.
Newcastle United 3.